Hi, I'm Constance Rhodes, and welcome to our second segment with Kate Wagner. Kate has an amazing story. She's gone through a lot of things that a lot of viewers out there I know can relate to, and struggling with relationship with food that was out of balance. So we've got another segment. You've probably seen segment 1. This is segment 2. We're actually going to do 3. So Kate, I want to go a little deeper into what I've heard you say in segment 1, which was there was a lot of anger and animosity directed toward your husband. I've heard you say, I blamed him for everything. You know, what were you blaming him for? And what was that animosity? How did it play out in your marriage?
Well, in the beginning, I didn't know I had a problem. So I thought he was the problem. He had to be the problem because I was perfect. And I knew what was going on in my life, and there was nothing wrong with me. So I knew that he was a problem because it couldn't be me. I had a great family. I was doing everything right.
But were you unhappy?
I was unhappy. Absolutely everything. Like I would come home from whatever I was doing, especially if it was at night. I knew John was home, and I knew that he needed to talk to me or have special time with me, and I would just sit in the car because I knew exactly what he wanted. So
you didn't want to engage
I
with
did
him
not,
in that way.
because I knew that I would have to give of myself, and the only thing that I knew that wouldn't talk back to me or wouldn't want something of me was the food. So I would wait for a while for him to go to sleep so I could go upstairs and just do my thing. I would walk in very quietly. I would even pretend sometimes that I was sick and put water in my mouth and pretend I was vomiting, so I would not have to engage with John. So, and after we had a little fight and he would talk to me, then it was okay. There was no problem. After he was asleep, I knew he was asleep because he would be snoring, and then I knew I was good to go out, watch TV, and eat whatever I wanted to eat until I was sick. So, and then I felt better at that time until when I woke up in the morning, and it was, again, the shame and the guilt that I had, and I would even be more angry at him because look what he did to me. He wanted to talk to me and have conversations with me and to be intimate as man and wife should be, and I didn't want any part of it. So
well, it's interesting because it was, you know, here he is, he loves you, he cares about you. I've heard you say that he would tell you you were beautiful, you were important, but everything inside of you, probably you were split. Part of you wanted that, you know, and part of you was like, I don't want to hear that, I can't handle that, that's not true. So it was really like you were at war all of the time, and then you got home at night, you got onto the lazy boy, you got out the food, and that was, oh, finally, you know, here's something I can control, here's a safe thing, and I'm all right. But then that was cycling into every single day of this animosity in your relationships. And so this cycle is really what you were trying to break.
exactly.
When we got into the class.
Exactly. It was definitely a cycle. I knew what I was going to do when I came home. I knew what he was going to do, but if we had a little fight, it was okay because I brushed it under the rug, and it was time for me to do my thing, which was eat. And then he would ask me, well, did you eat last night? Now, you know, you don't ask me that question. No, I didn't eat. Well, the dishes were there, and you're really angry, and I would go off on him once again, and I knew he had to go to work, so it was safe. It was very safe for me to do that. And it was constant, perpetual, and I wanted to give him my life, my heart, but if I did, I knew that I was going to let him in, and if he hurt me, I wasn't going to let anybody hurt me ever again as long as I lived, and I knew food wouldn't. It was my comfort. And
so there we go really to the core issue, which is you'd been wounded in your past, as we all have. You'd been wounded. You'd found a coping mechanism, which for you was food. and you had this thick veneer that you were trying to protect.
Correct.
And so that alienated you in your relationships. Now, what I'm curious about is, how did this then impact your kids? Did you see any kind of impact on them from what was happening with the way that you and your husband were interacting or not interacting, or maybe the attitudes that you had about yourself? Have you seen anything in them?
I think, I mean, they can tell when we were fighting, and they would come up to us and they would say, please don't fight. They would get in the middle of us. And that was, I thought they would be okay. They're kids, they would forget it. But they didn't. It did impact them, how we were reacting to each other, because I could see how they would be mad at us, and then not one minute mad, a minute we were happy. I was afraid that they would see what happened to me, and I swung the other way. I did not want them to become like me, what happened to me. I don't want my daughter to have an eating disorder. So what I did was, I was kind of like on her constantly, and then I had to back off because I was really pushing her towards an eating disorder. And my son, I was doing the same thing. He's a boy, and he's a little bit overweight, but I have to remember, he's going through the changes, and that's okay. Again, I had to find my balance with that. Mm-hmm. But it mainly was with John, how I treated him constantly, and he would tell me how much he loved me from my insides. I'm thinking, you got to be kidding me. How can you love me? And I had no idea I didn't love myself. How can you love this person that just yells at you constantly? And I think I really wanted to push him away so I didn't have to deal with the pain.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is great, because we're going to talk in the next segment with Kate's husband, John. So come on back and just get a little bit of a picture into what the other person goes through with someone who's struggling with an eating disorder.